All right, for our next journal activity, we're going to talk about, we're starting our photosynthesis unit, so we're going to talk about some photosynthesis vocabulary. Today, in my journal, I have a printout that I'm going to glue in here. You may have a printout. You may be required to copy these down. Whichever one it is, whether you have a printout to glue in or if you have to hand copy these definitions, either way, we need to make sure this page has a title. So if I'm hand copying it, I want to make sure that my page is titled Photosynthesis Vocabulary. And I want to make sure that my table of contents has this activity listed in the table of contents. So if I'm doing photosynthesis vocabulary on page 8, I'm going to go ahead to my table of contents. On the next empty line, I'm going to add the title and the page number. Photosynthesis vocabulary. Add my dots, and that's on page 8. Now, for this video, I have my photosynthesis vocabulary printed out. If you also have a printout, if I've given you a printout, you can glue it in. If I'm asking you to copy these definitions, then please do so and copy them neatly and legibly so that they can be read, because you will be responsible for studying these words and making sure you know them come testing time. Now, let's go over these together. So photosynthesis is the process where plants make their own food using water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. Plants don't have mouths, so they cannot catch and eat their food. Plants must make their own food. And to make that food, plants use water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. 2 is chloroplast. Chloroplast is an organelle in plant cells where photosynthesis takes place. Basically, anywhere that is green in a plant has chloroplast, and it is involved in photosynthesis. Number 3 is the stomata. Stomata are tiny pores on the bottom of the leaf that lets in CO2 and lets O2 out. These are scientific nomenclature, scientific abbreviations for other compounds. CO2 is carbon dioxide, and O2 is oxygen. O2 is our best friend. Carbon dioxide is not our friend. We use oxygen to breathe. We give out carbon dioxide. Plants bring in carbon dioxide and they give back oxygen, which is really convenient for humans, animals, and plants, because humans use this and put out that. Plants use that and put out this. So it's kind of a trade between animals and plants. Number 4, glucose. The scientific nomenclature for glucose is C6H12O6. Glucose is a sugar that's made by plants to be used as chemical energy. So sugar that plants make through photosynthesis is called glucose. It acts as chemical energy for those plants. When a plant does photosynthesis, it makes glucose sugar, and it can use that glucose sugar to consume it immediately to help it grow, or it can store it in a little savings bank, like as fruit. So take an apple tree, right? A tree is a plant, so a tree uses photosynthesis to make their own food. The tree uses water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight to make glucose sugar. The tree can then use that glucose sugar to grow, or it can store that glucose sugar in the form of fruits or other things depending on the plant. In this case, if this is an apple tree, it's storing that glucose as apples. If this was a banana tree, it would be storing it as bananas. If it was a carrot plant, it would be storing glucose underground in the root where the carrot is. So glucose is the sugar that plants make through photosynthesis. They can use glucose immediately, or they can store it as fruit or in other places. These next two are important. Number 5 is reactants. Number 6 is products. They really go together. Reactants are the substances needed for a chemical reaction, right? The ingredients. So in photosynthesis, plants use water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight to make glucose and oxygen. So the reactants in photosynthesis are the ingredients: water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. That's what plants need to make glucose. So those are the reactants for photosynthesis. The products are the substances made in a chemical reaction, right? The end result. So in photosynthesis, plants use the reactants, water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight, to create two products: glucose sugar and oxygen. So the reactants are the ingredients needed. The products are the chemicals or the substances created. So for photosynthesis, reactants are what's needed: water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. The products are what is made: glucose and oxygen. And this last word is the atmosphere. Atmosphere is basically all of the gases in the air and around Earth. So if you're in a classroom, all the air in that classroom is the atmosphere. If you're outside, all of the air around you and around the globe is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is where the gases are. So gases like CO2 and O2. CO2 is carbon dioxide, O2 is oxygen. Those are gases, and they are in our atmosphere. Next thing we're going to do, be sure to study these. You need to be familiar with these words. We'll talk about them more coming up, but you need to make sure you are familiar with those. All right, the next thing we're going to do will be on page 9, and we are going to glue this paper down called "What is Your Job?" So you will have a paper that you can glue in for this. So I'm going to go ahead and put down some glue. And we're going to glue this page into page 9. All right, now this page is titled "What is Your Job?" So let's add a page title. What is your job? I'm writing it neatly so it's able to be read. And if we have a new activity on this page, or if we're putting a new activity in our journal, we need to make sure we know what the name of the activity is. We need to know what page it's on, and we need to put this information where? In our table of contents. So coming back to our table of contents, I'm going to the next empty line. I'm adding this activity title, "What is your job?" My dots. See, and this is a repetitive system, and then our page number. You see how we keep doing the table of contents the same way over and over and over? That's how we keep it organized. We always start writing from the left side, right inside that. We always start beginning our writing at this left line. We always put our page numbers to the right of this faded right red line. And we use these dots nice and neat to keep us on the correct line. It helps us make sure we're following. If we want to look here in the middle, like "What is a scientist?" it helps me follow all the way over to get the right page number. And we're writing neatly.
We are writing neatly. I'm not saying you have to write perfect. I know that everybody writes differently. But if you are writing this sloppy, I'll tell you right now, slow down, make it neat now, or you will have to go back and rewrite it. So let's go to page 9, and let's read this. So we're going to read through this, and then we will highlight some information in each paragraph. So go ahead and get your highlighter so we can start reading these. Okay, we're going to use a highlighter to highlight some information in each one of these paragraphs. If you don't have a highlighter, that's quite all right. You can use a pencil to underline it. So let's start off. This is going to tell us about what each part of the plant is for. Each of the parts of a plant has a special characteristic and performs a task to ensure the welfare of the plant. Roots, stems, leaves, and flowers are essential for the survival of a plant. Each plant part has a different job to perform that allows the plant to live, grow, and reproduce seeds to make new plants. Let's take our highlighter and let's highlight this key information. Right here in the middle, each plant part has a different job to perform. That is key information for this paragraph. All right, next paragraph. The stem is the part of the plant that moves the water to the rest of the plant. The stem also brings food made in the leaves to other parts of the plant, such as the flower. The stem is like an elevator. It brings things up and down. Some plants, such as celery, asparagus, and sugarcane, have edible stems. Some stems are woody, while others are soft. Stems also provide support for the plant, allowing the leaves to reach sunlight. Let's take our highlighter and we're going to highlight the stem's job right here in the middle. The stem is like an elevator. It brings things up and down. Next paragraph. Feel free to pause these if you want to finish highlighting. Paragraph 3. The root is the part of a plant that is in the soil and pulls water, absorbs, and nutrients into the plant. Roots are like tiny sponges that soak up water and other nutrients from the soil. Like an anchor, roots also hold the plant down in the soil. The main root branches out into tiny roots that extend down into the soil. Some roots, such as carrots, beets, radishes, and sweet potatoes, swell to store food and water and are edible. Let's take our highlighter. We're going to highlight this whole first sentence. The root is the part of the plant that is in the soil and pulls water and nutrients into the plant. So highlight that entire first sentence. Paragraph 4. Leaves are the parts of the plant attached to stems or the parts of trees attached to branches. Many plants, such as lettuce, spinach, and cabbage, have edible leaves that are able to be eaten. Others, such as basil, oregano, and cilantro, can be dried and used as spice. Leaves are the food-producing factories. Through the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide in the air, water in the leaves, and sunlight as light energy are changed to sugar, glucose, or energy for the plant. So we are going to highlight this sentence right in the middle. Leaves are food-producing factories. This is important information because it helps you know that photosynthesis takes place mostly in the leaves of a plant. And our last paragraph. Plants, algae, and photosynthetic bacteria use radiant energy, light energy, from the sun along with water and carbon dioxide gas from the air to produce sugar, glucose, and oxygen. The glucose can be used immediately or stored for growth or later use. The oxygen is released as waste. Radiant energy, light energy, is converted to chemical energy in the process. So we're going to highlight this sentence in the middle, talking about what glucose is used for. The glucose can be used immediately or stored for growth or later use. And there we go. All right, what we highlighted here is important information. All of the information in this article is important. The highlighted information are the clips that you definitely need to make sure you understand and definitely know that that's what each plant part does for their job. Once again, make sure both of these pages are represented in your table of contents neatly and orderly. Make sure everything we do is in that table of contents. All right, that is it. Thank you.